some uncomfortable though beautiful things. There's another uncomfortable but very beautiful thing. It's the sacrament of confession. So I'll tell you my experience with the sacrament of confession. So just over 10 years ago, my wife Tori and I were actually sitting in your place. We were an engaged couple at Holy Cross attending a marriage preparation event, and just like Laura said, we didn't have the really beautiful program and structure that you guys have. We're really jealous. That's why we like going to these things. She grew up in St. Paul and moved to Minneapolis for a job at the U of M. And she was working at the Mechanical Engineering School. I immigrated across the border from Wisconsin to study architecture at the U. And Tori's parents raised her in the Polish cultural group here at Holy Cross. By the time I met her in our late 20s, she was an accomplished folk dancer and had been crowned the Twin Cities Polka Queen. And although I hold no such title, in my homeland, every wedding and even some funerals are accompanied by a local polka band. And so that's how we met. I was one of the only guys that knew how to polka dance. Took out my competition. And so we actually met at a polka dance. Does anybody remember the Gasthof? Yes. Some of you may remember the German restaurant, the late German restaurant here in Northeast. They used to have free, every Friday and Saturday night, free polka band, no cover. It's here. So, imagine at this time, an event in your life where you have gotten like physically filthy. Like it could have been you went to the Boundary Waters for a week and you just got to the Boundary Waters. It could be that you just ran the Tough Mudder. It could be any of those things. Just put in your mind a time where you've been like uncomfortably dirty. Picture now that as you just finished that activity, your fiance calls you and says, "Hey, I want you to come with me to a restaurant. I'll pick you up in 5 minutes. I want to go on a date with you." What do you imagine your response is going to be? Yeah, like, I need to shower first, right? Can you even imagine the date being enjoyable, even though it is with your fiance, even though it might be really good food? Wouldn't you feel like just wretched, like aware of your own filthiness, like stench? And so, but after you've had a shower, we're like, hey, that sounds amazing, right? So keep that thought in your head. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. At the time of our engagement, Tori and I had actually fallen away from the church. We were both, neither of us had attended a Sunday Mass in almost 3 years. We were both born into Catholic families, and they did know enough to take us to church, get us our sacraments of initiation. But, you know, again, we're in our late 20s, and to be honest, Sunday Mass was like a chore, like a checkbox. Like, yeah, we did it. We were present physically. And although Tori and I did make a return to regular attendance at Sunday Mass at that time, we still found it to be a chore. There wasn't like flipping a magic, it wasn't a magic trick of flipping a switch. We routinely arrived late. We used to joke that everybody'd say, "Oh, what Mass do you go to?" Like, we go to the 9:38. and then after Mass, we dash off right away again, get on with our day, and any excuse would seem sufficient grounds for missing Mass. So like if we were out of town for the weekend, we couldn't go to our church, our normal Mass, so I guess we just don't go. If we stayed up late Saturday night, too much polka dancing, then you know, like, oh, sorry, we're tired, we can't go. Or if like things are really busy at the office, I gotta work a little bit on Sunday, so we're not gonna be able to make it. So that's the foundation for our marriage. The very normal challenges of family life then assailed us. Tori feared not having enough money, while I felt chained to my job that I had at the time for a paycheck. We firmly believed that our money and our possessions were ours rather than gifts from God. And so we justified spending money on things that seemed good for us, responsible or well-earned, while withholding any tithing from the church. This formed our hearts to be possessive so that when Tori and I became parents, we felt like our time was also ours. And we'd become like frustrated or disappointed anytime a child of ours would place a rightful time to sleep. It was mine. We also disagreed on how many children we were open to having. I wanted 5, she said 2. The priest said we ought to talk about that. I don't know if we ever really got around to that conversation, we just kept going. And since we were not practicing natural family planning, Tori became a mistrustful gatekeeper. She basically said, like, well, I don't want to have kids yet, and I only want to have 2, so don't touch me. And I struggled kind of as a result of that, but it was totally my choice. I struggled with pornography. Tori and I did not know it then, but every time we went to Mass to receive the Eucharist, or what the church tells us is the source of life and the summit of our faith, it felt meaningless. Like we didn't even know. I don't know if you had asked us, is Christ actually present in the Eucharist? I don't know what we would have said at that time. I think we would have said, we were showing up to a date with the King of the universe without having washed up first. So this went on for the first 7 years of our marriage, the number of completeness in the Bible. It was then in 2021 that I joined my first men's small group. 2021, that time which we will not name. Thanks be to God for those 6 men who came together at 6 a.m., 0600, every Wednesday morning in this very basement. Together in prayer, personal sharing, and perhaps a little political axe grinding, we offered sacrifice to God and were met with his graces. We learned that we were not alone, that we were all struggling with many of the same things. It was actually shocking. 2 of us had not been to confession in 20 years. That's each of us, by the way, not a combined 20 years. We prayed for the courage to do what seemed beyond our fiber, and we returned to the confessional. My first time back, I had to read my lines from a little paper guide available in church, so if you have to do that sometime, don't worry, I do too. And I was too nervous to confess some of my sins. I actually chickened out on some of them that I had planned on saying. Other sins I had grown so used to ignoring that I forgot to actually even contemplate them. And every time I examine my conscience, it's like cleaning out another corner of the attic. I walk away feeling fresh, right-ordered, and energized. At first, I felt great about making it to confession twice a year. But then that revealed that I probably need to go a little more often than that, and I would start going every couple months. And now, when it gets to be 2 weeks since my last confession, I can sense, generally speaking, a gracelessness about me, a lack of will to do what I know is right, and this usually manifests in a short fuse with my wife, my kids. Sometimes I even avoid confession. Then I pray for the humility that I do not feel, and the sense of avoiding something unpleasant just kind of melts away, and it allows me to get back into confession. By 2024, so 3 years later, I began by God's mercy in the confessional to soften my heart towards my wife. God also began to heal me from the effects of pornography. This opened healthy conversations about intimacy, and it built trust between my wife and I. Tori and I began to pray together for really the first time in our marriage. We had maybe prayed separate, although probably not that often. It was really a struggle and very awkward to pray together, which allowed God to begin healing our misconceptions about possessions, giving us the courage to trade the paycheck and stress of my old job for a more joyful life together as a family on a smaller income. And with the tithe to the church that reminds us every month by whose grace we have any money at all. And despite having to pack up 4 kids, we're always at Mass at least 30 minutes early. Now we go to the 8:58 Mass. And we even enjoy the opportunity to attend daily Mass. Regular confession is not meant to be an unpleasant chore. It helps you understand your tendencies and who God made you to be. It also gives clear sight to your soul so that Sunday Mass feels less like a checkbox and more like what it really is. It's a wedding feast at which Christ marries us in the Eucharist. Whether you regularly receive the sacrament of reconciliation or if it's been a few years, I encourage you to think of God as someone who is attractive and who is attracted to you. The King of the universe inviting you to the wedding feast, like your fiance calling you to go out on that date. If you feel like you're avoiding this invitation completely, or if you lack the courage to confess some of your sins, it's okay. It's normal. Then make the sign of the cross and ask the one who created you and loves you for what you lack. I know from experience that he will delight in seeing you, cleansing you, and healing you every time. God be with you this day and every day as you get married.
All right, thank you guys so much. We'll just take a, let's see, what have we got here?